Thank you, sir. Welcome one and all to the May Chips and Grits. Thank you all for joining. It'll be interesting. The focus today is primarily on those that are headed to the symposium. And let's talk about all the things we've done and what else we need to do in order to make sure we're ready to hit the ground running. So I thought we would talk about some of those things. I've got some information about parking at the airport if you're interested in that. And we'll talk about the sessions, what you've picked, maybe a little bit of logic of why you've picked them, and we'll go from there. So thanks for all who have joined, and thanks for those of you who watch this after it goes up on the website. I continue to be amazed at how many people tune in and view this particular recording each month. We typically reach somewhere around 50 to 60 people that check in and check out the chips and grits. So with that, let's get started. One of the things that Dave Madden recommended, and I did, have you all loaded the guidebook yet to your phones? Very useful app. Once you get there and once they load the 2024 version of the symposium on, right now you can go to either the Apple Store or the Google Play Store and load it. There's a placeholder in there that really is a schedule from last year. But sooner or later, they will load the one for this year, and then all the information will be available right on your phone.
The name of the app, Bruce?
What's the app name?
Guidebook.
Do you have to put AAW with it?
No,
Oh, okay.
it is not just an AAW thing. Whoops, let me do this.
A quick point, Bruce, that will be, this year's schedule will be loaded either barely before the end of this week or early next week.
There. The app looks like that. I don't know why it won't focus, but
There it goes.
there it goes. So that's what it looks like on an Android. And all the little pieces of paper you try to keep track of and everything, that will replace all of it.
Bruce, I think everybody should have received the email from Jay Brown. I did, and he promises that the app will be available this week. And it also has a copy of the the schedule matrix that you can download right now.
Ah, I did not get that. Cool.
It came from Jay Brown, who is the organizer of the symposium, and I received it yesterday. So look in your email for that.
Oh, okay. I haven't been through emails yet this morning, so thank you.
It came out about 1:40 yesterday. And I suggested everybody go look at that because it's pretty comprehensive. Tells you everything you need to know.
Yes, that's about the same time I got mine, Dave, and I agree with you. It's got a lot of information in here.
I didn't. No,
So
I didn't.
Susan
Susan.
Kissel had a question. Oh, did you
saw
see
that.
it?
Susan, I hear you can't get video. Let's see where you are. See if you can hear audio.
Oh yeah, I'm hearing you.
Okay.
I can see you guys. You just can't see us.
On the lower left-hand side of your screen, move your mouse over there. Second one in from the left. There's a little icon of a video camera, and below it says stop video or on video. Do you have a red line through it?
No, That's why I don't know why the videos doesn't work. So,
Interesting. Oh,
Uh,
that could have been something with when you signed on.
Exactly. Susan, just sign off and then sign back in. And there'll be a thing on your screen that says,
Join with
Take-
computer video or something.
yeah, join video or something like that. Just sign out and sign back in.
okay, I'll
We'll
try
wait
that.
for you.
Ken, I didn't see where Jay said that the app would be up this week. Matt, who will put it up, said it would either be up late this week or first before Monday. So he may be working on it this weekend. I don't know.
Dave, it's in under the heading tips for planning your itinerary. The first bulleted item says, use the full schedule inside the front cover, in parentheses, app coming soon. He hasn't
Right.
said when, but I assume that would be sometime between now and the beginning of the symposium.
Well, I'm telling you, Matt said he would have it out late this week or first of next week.
Hey, Ken, I just looked at my emails. Could you send that email on to me, please?
Will do. And I don't know if this came to me as an AAW member or as a symposium, registered symposium attender. I assume it goes to everybody who's going to the symposium.
It did not come through to me.
I didn't get it either, but I think it might be because we are going, both of us, and I'm a discount. I don't know, but I didn't receive the email. Only Ken did.
Ken, are you gonna send that out to everybody?
I can. I'm not sure who everybody includes.
Send
Aha.
it to Rick because he can forward it to everybody. He has him on speed dial.
Yeah, I didn't get it, so yes, please do that.
Okay, for now, I'll send it to Bruce and Rick and Kathy, and you can help distribute it to others.
I'll get it out to everybody.
Welcome back, Susan. You're muted, so go to the lower left and take the red line off. There you go. Now, I assume you're on a laptop.
Nope, on a Mac. iMac.
Okay, on an iMac, do you have a little slide at the top of the screen that will block your camera? It's usually a little slide switch right up where the camera comes out of it.
No. Just-
Okay,
We won't worry about it. At least I can hear you and you can hear me. So,
deal. We'll head on. The other question that you ask is, should you wait until the information is loaded and then download the app? I would recommend no. Go ahead and load it now where you have good access to a Wi-Fi and you get the app itself loaded. When the actual information's there, that'll be an easy adjustment.
Bruce, I just downloaded it and it's got the whole information for the 2024 symposium. It's already up.
Okay, does it show did you go into the 2024 information?
I did. I searched it. I have everything. It's 2024 in Portland, Oregon, May 23, 26. And it's got like general information, schedule, my schedule, notification, speakers map, gallery exhibition. It's all there.
Okay, because when I went in and did it for schedule, it comes up and it shows Jim Ector on June 4th.
Let me look on schedule.
Rick, just a caution and a caution to all of you. This is the way all of our software seems to work. We start by loading last year's everything and then gradually update it. That's the way we had to do the volunteer sign up.
Okay.
So a lot of the things that you may see today are from last year.
Maybe that's it. I'll check and see.
And I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, like the schedule updates on the one that's loaded right now is from last year, and I can tell by the room numbers.
Okay.
So I would say load the guidebook, go in and play with it, and just get familiar with it. So when they do get everything loaded, you'll have it and you'll understand how to use it. And Matt, the person that takes care of all that, said he would have it loaded either by the end of the week or over the weekend. So you'll have it by Monday.
Yeah, the other clue is when you go into schedule, the month of June 2023 comes up.
Yeah, mine is last year's. I finally got it to load correctly and it is last year's.
So
Bruce, I appreciate that you sent out an attachment with and marked some of the ones that are in video replay, but there were some that were video that were going to be videoed later. And so, for example, on the very first rotation, there
yes,
were two others that are going to be later also. So,
two.
there were-
Odd. I got one. Tell me the other one.
okay, so Jay Shepherd and Janice Levi are both being videoed on Saturday at 10:30.
Thank you.
And then the Eli Avacera, the one at 8 o'clock is not the one that's being recorded for him. It's the one that's at 10:30, the Square Bowl.
Oh,
I went
Thank
through them
you.
last night and there's more. I found several of them. So there are some that are repeated.
yes, there are. Keep going.
Okay, rotation 3, Dan Tilden is being recorded on Saturday at 3:30. And let's see, what else did I find? Most of the rest are correct except, oh, there's two others.
Also
So,
on rotation 3, Donna Banfield is being videotaped in that rotation.
yes, that's correct. The Write Your Story one. And then the next one, rotation 9, is the Eli Avacera is a repeat. And that one was already taped. And then last one, rotation 8, Raleigh Monroe is that one, Carving Techniques is taped.
Thank you for that. Yeah, this copy came from AAW. It's a little light. I couldn't figure out how to make it come out and print any darker, but
Excuse me.
It was helpful to look through it, but then when they also sent the big schedule and it was easier to cross check some of it.
Yeah, you guys that have not received that email that we were talking about earlier, I'm forwarding it right now to as many of you as I can think of or have listed in my phone book. I would suggest, Bruce, that you just wait till you get that. Scroll in there until you find the fold out schedule. And it is much easier to read, much easier to comprehend. And it's what you're going to have in your handout book.
okay. The other thing that's interesting, though, I think there's a problem on rotation 1. Cause I show there's only 2 rooms where they're doing video, but yet we've now got 4 things listed as being videotaped.
Yeah, that's right. So there's 4 choices that at the first that are not being videotaped.
Oh, because
But Bruce,
because
those
they're at
2 of
later
those are
time.
on Saturday, not on the first rotation.
Gotcha.
They're listed on the first rotation. But they will also be giving the videotape sessions on Saturday.
Now I got it. I am trainable.
Yes, it's kind of confusing unless you look at the big picture of it, I think.
Yeah.
And I asked Rick last night to forward on the links that I had put in the newsletter. So that
Yes.
if you do want to learn something about each one, it was helpful. I also went back because of the recorded ones and wrote by each of them what they're recording. So I can add that on and send that out again because, for example, one of them is doing Halloween, but then their other one is
Full
not
out
being
schedule?
recorded. So it's an email that Rick sent out last night. So some of you may not have seen it, but I didn't type the extra part on. If it helps, I will.
Where in that communication, that email that you sent out, Ken, does it have fold out schedule?
It
Just a
doesn't.
minute, I'll have to pull it up again.
Oh,
All
does
right.
it?
I think it's down the middle of the page.
I'm looking at it now and I don't see it. That's why I asked.
If you look under tips for planning your itinerary,
Yes,
there's a blue line at the bottom of, under the bullets. It says the detailed schedule chart is available for download here.
I got it.
That takes you to another page.
Got it.
Printable schedule.
Yes, that's the link you have to follow to get the schedule. And
And
it's the
this is-
same thing that Dave gave us and you gave the rest of us too. It's the big matrix.
Okay, great.
And that's the schedule that will be inside the front cover of your handout book when you get there.
I don't have one of these. Oh, we each get a book.
Now, we made some changes. Kathy, you said there were some corrections. Are they contrary to this schedule or is this schedule correct?
No, the schedule's correct. The printout that Bruce sent, I
Okay.
made the changes on this to match that. And
Okay.
then what I sent out last night, I just started jotting down what each of them are being videotaped as. So if it helps, I'll type that and send it out to people.
Okay, great.
You know, we're getting so much different information and so many different looks at the information. I would suggest that you all take this email, and if you have not received it yesterday, then either get it from me or get it from Ken and use the information that's on that. That's the latest up to date.
Mhm.
And it's the easiest to read. If you take a look at that fold out schedule, the same one, Rick, that I gave you to hand out to a few of the people. Bruce, I think you got one.
Yes.
Spence got one. Look at those schedules. And it's easiest to see because two rooms are the video rooms. And those rooms all the way across the schedule are the ones that you'll be able to reach after the symposium. You can also attend those that are in the video rooms, but you don't have to if you prefer to watch them when you get home. So that fold-out schedule or that Excel matrix, or whatever you want to call it, that schedule is the easiest to read. And it's the easiest to formulate your plans from.
Dave, I forwarded that to Rick. Rick, you have the list of everybody attending, so I think it's better if you send that out to people rather than having me send it to anybody, because I'm not sure I would catch everybody.
You mean the 2-week countdown? 2-week, that email?
Yes, the
Yes.
email I just forwarded to you this morning.
I'll make sure everybody gets it today.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, what Bruce sent out to all of us, Kathy had some of the video changes. Everything in the document itself is correct. It matches the matrix, the fold out. What doesn't match were which ones were all videotaped. So that's what Kathy went through and she cross-checked with the table. And those are some of the changes she suggested this morning.
Good.
Yeah, and those that are marked as video later, I did the video later marking on it. That didn't come from AAW. So I was the one that missed the video later ones.
I
So,
would suggest rather than looking at all of the different information that we've been getting, just look at this thing that Rick is going to send out and get that fold out schedule, that printable schedule. Get that in front of you and then do your planning from that. And Monday, if you want to do all of that on guidebook, then do the same on guidebook next week.
The only issue with doing that is when you have some sessions that repeat, you won't know. You'll have to do some cross sections to catch which ones repeat later on sessions that are videoed.
And you will get that on the fold out schedule.
Correct.
You
But
will-
in the fold out schedule, there's 4 of them that are going to be available for video later. And that won't show up on the fold out schedule unless you cross check and see what shows up videoed later. If that makes sense.
I found it was a little bit easier to read what Bruce sent for what these artists are doing, because the fold out table is color coded and some of the text is difficult to read because of the color scheme. So I suggest using both of them.
yeah, Bruce, on the ones that I showed you that were changed, since you have that and added the VLs, can you maybe go put the VLs on the repeated ones and resend that?
Yes,
that make sense?
I'll do that and send it to Rick because he can get it directly to those that are going to the symposium.
Yeah, because it's the repeats. I agree that for example, looking at rotation 1, it looked like only 2 of them were going to be taped, but there actually are 4.
Okay. We ready to move to something else?
Yipper.
For those of you who are driving, I've fallen in love with a parking service at Prescott, at Phoenix Airport called Pre-Flight. Several of us has used it when we went to Portland last year. There are 3 different options when you go in and park. It's a 3-story building. And if you're going down leaving on Wednesday and coming back Sunday, I went through and looked at the rates, and it's $62.75 if you park up on top on the roof. And this time of year, it's not getting too hot in Phoenix, but that's the most economical. There's a $65.25 rate if you park outside in the surface lot. And there's an $84 rate if you park underneath covered on the 2nd floor. So add that to information for you for planning, if you're interested in doing that. That's the
Does-
most economical thing I know of to park
Does it
down in
take
Phoenix.
Does it take pre-reservation, Bruce, or?
Yes, it does.
Okay,
And ends up with a little QR code on your phone. You pull up to the camera, it scans it, and up you go. And you can pay for rooftop parking. And if there isn't any available, then you're allowed to park the next level down at the same rate as rooftop.
Is there any arrangements made, or is anybody going that does not have a carpool yet?
we're in a carpool.
Silence is deafening.
For instance, Jerry and Bruce and Spence and I go down and we carpool down, and then we split the cost. But if there's anybody else that's going down, that a group of people, Dave Kohler's here, and he'd like to know if there's anybody carpooling down there so that he could either jump a ride or do something with someone else to offset some of the cost.
We're riding with Chuck Brown in, I think, Dave Henderson and Rick Summerfield are, so I think that car's full.
Okay.
Susan Kessel just sent a note on the chat. They like parking spot too. It's covered parking and a reliable shuttle to the airport, she says.
Yeah, they both work well.
So. All right, so Kathy, with all the work you've done, what have you picked to go see in session one, rotation one?
Well, I'm either going to see Raleigh Monroe do Halloween or the multi-axis teapot. Just because I don't have a lot of experience with Halloween, that's my first choice. But there were only 4 choices. I'm not into pen making, so I think I'll start with Halloween, just so I have one Halloween demo.
You must be psychic because I picked the same two.
Yeah, me
Oh,
too.
really?
I like that in that first round. I like the Jay Shepard sanding, finishing, buffing, and more. That is being recorded on rotation 6, so I opted
Yeah.
not to go to that day.
Yep,
Same.
same thing for me. So. Spence, are you with us? What'd you pick for rotation 2? Have you got it narrowed down yet?
Yeah, number one, with Andy Cole. I'm familiar with him, and he's going to do a natural edge. So I'm curious about seeing how thick his cores are.
That is being recorded, Spence, so you could watch that at a later time.
Ah, oh, I see. I don't know. And rotation 2, I'm sure that I'll stop in and see Kurt. He's going to do thread chasing, which I'm familiar with, but it's always interesting to watch him. And for those of you who are really into embellishing, Andy Wolf is a very talented and demonstrator.
Yeah, I thought I would go see Andy Wolf, but she was referred to by who did our demo?
Mary Schick.
Mary Schick. So I thought it would be good to see what Andy actually does in person.
Dave, I have a question for you because on rotation 2, with all these demos, there's also a panel. So is that treated just like another one of the demos? Do we have to choose the panel or a demo?
Short answer, yes. Let me grab the schedule.
Yeah, it looks like it's at that same time. So
Ken, I don't know about the procedures in the AAW, but the ones I've been to is you can either choose to participate or choose to view, or if halfway through you're not interested, you just leave.
That's pretty much the case on everything you go to. If you're not interested, you're not embarrassing people if you get up and leave. And all of those panel discussions that are during a rotation, that's one of your choices instead of going to a demo. And if you look at the schedule, it'll show a room for that. The panel discussions are typically small. You might find 100 and some people at a demonstration, and you might find 15 or 20 at some of the panel discussions. Typically, there's probably 30 or 40 or 50 at a panel discussion. And basically, it's just a group of people that talk about the subject and try to involve the audience. So if you've got questions, be sure to take those and bring them up.
Thanks, Dave. That was what I expected. So that narrows one of my choices for rotation too.
What does it show the room number for that?
D140 or
Yeah.
146. I can't read it quite well.
The problem you guys are having with that printout that I gave you, that was printed on as you can tell, a real thick fuzzy paper. And my color printer just kind of let that whatever bleed and phase and
Dave, it's
look.
okay. It's okay because we reprinted it from the email we got yesterday where it says you can download the printed version, and it did print a little bit clearer. So appreciate what you did for us, but this copy is a little bit more readable.
Ken,
Very much.
Did you do it on the larger paper, Ken?
Yeah.
The
Yes,
you
11
did
by
it on
14.
legal paper? Yeah.
Legal.
Yeah, legal size.
Mm-hmm.
No power.
When I picked the rotation 2 was Yaiko Tanaka on the Japanese wood turning demonstration in the history and tools and techniques. Does anybody know anything about that?
I don't.
That was something.
No, but I'm curious too, Bruce, because she also teaches about lacquer technique in one of these sessions,
Right.
and I know nothing about it. So I was interested in her, but maybe not in the history, but where she actually demonstrates the lacquering.
And that one's, the lacquer finishing is actually recorded.
Yes, that's in rotation 7.
Rick, what'd you pick for rotation 3?
I was going to try and go see Raleigh again and watch the tricky hollowing.
I picked that one too.
Anybody understand what he means by tricky hollowing?
I
I would
guess
imagine it would be where there would be voids and things like that that you have to work around.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's recorded.
Hey, Rick, if things keep up the way they're going, if I rent a wheelchair, you can wheel me around all the demonstrations you're going to, right?
Well,
So far, we're going to the same thing.
actually, I thought it was you were going to push me.
Oh, that's how that works.
Who asked the question about tricky hollowing?
Bruce
I
did.
did.
Yeah, that's the one I want to attend.
Hold on a second. Can people see that?
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
tricky hollowing. You're hollowing, you basically have to have a tool that reaches underneath. You're going through the small hole, but if you look at the shape of it, you have to have a very bent tool to get up into this portion to hollow.
So,
That's just one example.
Only
If
have to
you're,
go as low as the fingers.
if you're more into, the tall skinny ones, you can do the same type of thing where you have, just underneath just underneath the entrance hole where you're actually coming back toward you.
Dave, that piece looks like you've got a tool where you can go in and do hollowing, but you just can't come back up very far. So then you take the outside and dip it down in to compensate for it. Is that right?
I suppose you could. All of mine that I do the tricky crap, I finish the outside. So I don't change the outside after I start hollowing. Let me show you one other one.
There's a couple other things too in that rotation 3 that I looked at. And it was Andy Cole, the natural edge with a flare.
Yeah.
And I also like the other one, Dan, exploring the natural edge design.
That
There's-
one's recorded.
That one's recorded.
Oh, great. Thank you.
On Saturday, he'll be recorded. I think I'll go to Andy Cole, the natural edge.
Yeah, that was my second choice.
That's the one I'm going to too.
I would suggest everybody at least take in at least one of Andy's in person because he's a cool dude and he's just fun, even if you're not interested in what he's doing.
Who was that, Dave?
Andy Cole.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He's a transformed American into the Hawaiian life. So he'll do a calabash there, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Here.
that is one of his topics, I think.
There's another tricky hollowing where you do it off center and you see how the top is recessed around the entrance hole, the funnel hole. So there's all kinds of things that could fall into that tricky hollowing. And I don't know what he's going to do. Another point, if I could get off the subject real quick, and especially for Kathy, Chukowski will be at Craft Supplies sometime yet this year. I'm not sure the schedule, but he's a very good hollowing teacher.
Yeah,
If you
I think
wanted,
he teaches there once a year.
You're going to
Have
do
a
if you
this.
wanted to, if you wanted to go to a class.
Okay, thanks.
All right, let's talk about rotation 4. Ken, what do you pick for that?
Both. Yeah, that's
My vote is split on rotation 4, and I'm glad 2 of them are being recorded because I wanted to attend 2 of them that are being recorded. But on 4, I wanted to see the Tanaka about the Urushi lacquer wiping technique, and also Janice Levy on surface enhancement because I'm interested in a lot of embellishing. So I'm split on that particular session.
Ken, a point for you for Janice. Typically, if you get into the vendor area soon, when you get there, and look at their schedule at MDI, the place that sells all the little carving tools, the little bits and so on for your power carvers. They usually post a schedule of who's going to be there and when. Now, since Janice is actually a demonstrator, I don't know that she would participate with MDI. But in past symposiums, she always has at least, I don't know, 2 or 3 or 4 little mini demonstrations at MDI, basically trying to sell tools for them. But she does a lot of embellishing at those things. You might be able to, if she's there, I suggest you plan that somehow.
Thanks. I'm not familiar. MDI? I haven't heard of that one.
Let me see if I can get a vendor list up here really quick. And of course, go ahead, Bruce, and I'll find this for Ken.
I think there was a vendor list on the email Ken got yesterday, maybe? I'm not sure. I've seen one somewhere.
Yes, there was.
Okay.
Don't forget on Friday too, Friday at the end of the day, the auction, live auction will be in the Portland Ballroom. I don't know if you've seen them, but there are usually a lot of fun. So don't forget to mark that down on your schedule.
Okay.
And one of the unlisted performers at that is going to be your very own president. So be sure you show up and bring money.
That's the big thing. Forget me, bring the cash. And incidentally, while we're here, the other thing I wanted to let you know is that there is still time if you want to volunteer to do to help while you're at the symposium. You can go online and there's places where you can go right through and register for anything that you might like to do. Volunteering helps these things go. You all well know that nothing happens without people helping. So don't be afraid to get in there and help. You'll get to know some nice people.
And you'll be able to help my cause.
So
And I've tried to keep my my job of volunteers away from this group. I've tried not to burden all of you with it. I did burden Rick because he's coming in early, so I'm going to spend some time with him probably on Wednesday, maybe Thursday morning, to introduce him to some of the people you're interested in. And so Dave Kohler and Kathy, you might want to check with Rick to see who he's talked with, and maybe he can hook you up with the Andys and the Andy Wolf and Andy Cole. Well, they're both fun people.
So in looking at the schedule, then, does that say on Friday, you want to have a pretty good sized lunch because you're not going to get supper till after 7 o'clock? Because the last session goes to 5. There's a social reception, 5 to 5:30, and then at 5:30 the auction starts.
Speaking of lunch, how close is it to get things for lunch, or will there be restaurants in the facility?
Well, the issue is not how close, it's how many people you're competing with. You're gonna have probably 1,300 people there. They're all probably looking at the same schedule you are, and they're doing the same plan that you are. You know, let's rush out right now and grab a bite to eat and come back. Another quick note, before the auction, if you see on various places that there's a social, there's usually a table or a cart or a catered service set up with hors d'oeuvres and a cash bar. You have to buy your own booze, but you can go through a line and pick up snacks. And basically last year, that's what my wife and I survived on because we had no time to get food. The good note there was no food around the symposium last year, no restaurants or anything, anywhere close. The good news for this, and I think as soon as you get there, when you've got some time, if you leave your hotel and go toward Martin Luther King Boulevard from your hotel and then take a right, you will walk past the Hyatt and another hotel on the corner. I can't think of the name of it. But there are a couple of family restaurants, and there's a place right close to the Hyatt, further down the street from the Hyatt, that's a hamburger joint. That's excellent to get in and get out of. But again, you know, they seat 50, 60, 70 people, and you're competing with about 1,200. So keep that in mind.
Seems to
And
me
the-
that the Denny's within about a block of there too, isn't there?
It is. That's one of the family restaurants. I'm glad you brought that up because I couldn't think of either one of them. There's 2 or 3 right there with Denny's. And it's like from your hotel, you'll just, like I said sometime earlier, go out the back door, and it's like a half a block, and then you take a right and it's another half a block.
Yep.
So it's simple to get to, but just remember you're in a horse race with others.
Okay.
Another quick point, there's something that you might consider is, and dependent upon your schedule, and especially Ken and Kathy, you two can run a exchange option where somebody, I guess anybody can do it. Just go over and pick up some cold lunches, sack lunches at some of those places. That might be an option. That might be an option on the second day if you find the first day it doesn't work because of volume.
Dave, do they have places in the convention center where you can buy food?
There are a couple, and again, one of them is like a coffee shop, but they've got some food. There's a couple places where you can get food, but and that's a good thing for all of you guys that are getting there. And Rick, if you make that a point on Wednesday, remind me. And that can be one of your duties, is to go out and shop those in the convention center. Because remember, we are using 50% of that building or less. So there are food places there on the other half that might be easier to get to or easier to use because they are on some other convention schedule. So they may be locked up all morning, and we may be able to slip out of our place at 11 or whatever and get food or during one of our breaks or whatever. And so keep in mind, sack lunches, if you can find places that you can get those, and desirable food that you can keep for your lunch hour.
Does the convention center have any policies for us bringing in food? Because I know Finley Center here, you cannot.
I have no idea, but my guess is it's no issue. Finley Center, they're guarding at the door.
Yeah.
When you come in the door, that's where you go through security. Basically, there's 10,000 doors to the convention center, and there is no security on them. I mean, there's no place where you have to go show that you belong there until you get into the lobby of our part of the center.
Can you get in and out of the symposium once you've registered, so you can leave during the day?
Absolutely, anytime you want.
Okay.
And you just need to have your badge for when you come back. And the badge is basically, there's no security per se at the door. There's no security anywhere on our symposium per se, a guard standing at the door making sure, except at the banquet. At the banquet, you'll have to show your banquet ticket in order to get in. But the rest of the places, there are people that will scan the audience to make sure that everybody there's wearing a badge. And if you're not wearing a badge, then you're probably going to get kicked out. But per se, we don't have security at every door.
Dave, do they have a place where they have tables and chairs set up if you want to sit down and take a break and that type of thing? Or if you
Yeah.
bring your lunch in where you can sit down and eat?
Yes, pretty much all around the building, not just in our area, but, and again, it's going to be contingent upon who else is in that center, who is conventioning on the other half. I remember one, and I don't remember where it was, not in Portland, but we used tables in a whole different section of the building, and they allow that. I mean, the convention place doesn't mind that. So yeah, there typically are lots of tables and chairs and places to sit and places to eat. But again, I'm sure there's not 1,200.
Mhm. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to rotation 5. Jerry Sugars. What have you picked for that one? Is he still there?
Let me unmic.
Somebody turned Sugar's mic on.
Sorry, I got it turned off. I'm doing a bowl for a board on that
Okay.
one. Segment one.
Yeah, I picked that one too.
What is that? Oh, okay.
Is that the ringmaster or is this a different technique?
Probably a different technique. You can take a solid board or you can glue up a board with different woods and a couple of different ways to do it. You can put it on a jigsaw and cut the rings at like a 45-degree angle and then stack the rings.
You can also do that pretty much the same thing. Like you just mentioned on the jigsaw, you can also do that on a lathe, and he may be touching on that. And that gentleman that's if you're talking about Miyake,
No. Al Miotti?
yeah, he's a premier segmenter. He just likes segmenting and putting pieces together. So he's just going to show, I'm sure, different methods of, in that particular one, different methods of doing bowls out of pieces without getting into the segmenting jigs and fixtures. And I'm not sure if he's going to show it. I haven't really reviewed his demonstration, but there is a way. Is Jay still with us?
No.
There's a way to cut those rings that you're mentioning. You can be cut on the jigsaw. There's a way to do that on the lathe.
If you go to the link for his website and click on gallery, you'll see some of his work. And he has quite a few segmented pieces on there to give you an idea of how he does it, how he actually does it.
Well, he does several different ways. He does standard segmenting, and then he does the bowl from a board situation, which is either the jigsaw method or the lathe with basically a parting tool. And he does the same thing. He cuts an angle on the ring with a parting tool on a little jig that you put in your banjo.
Dave, this kind of prompts a question. We're talking about something based on just the title of his demonstration. When we get the book handout, Does it give more information on what their demo is going to be about?
Yes, and I haven't seen this year's, so I don't really know. All I can do is speak from the past. And it's entirely up to the demonstrator on what they want to submit. And I could pull out an old handbook and show you how detailed some people are. But I can also show you how they submit a 1-page thing that says, I'm going to cut this into circles. You know, so it's a crapshoot. And like I said, I haven't seen anything. I volunteered to print this year's manual, but they had it done outside the group. So I don't have any idea this year, but typically, yes. And most of the demonstrators are pretty good. And I think I recall our executive director saying that they weren't going to sign a contract with people unless they did submit something worthwhile. And we've had in the past, there've been people that just circumvent that request.
This is also the rotation where Andy Cole's doing his Calabash Bowl.
You guys should be all calabashed up.
I
Yep.
want to see his approach to it differently. I've already watched 2 different ones, so I'm going to go to it probably unless somebody talks me into something else.
I like that one too with Dan, the classic colo form.
Could I text Kathy? Could I talk you into volunteering that time? At that time to do something else?
Oh, it's that repetitive. Is that what you're saying? Well, what Rick said was my second choice too. So it depends on what you're asking me to do, I guess.
I'm not asking you to do anything other than volunteer. And you can go and pick and choose whatever you like.
I'll think about it, but
You know, the most fun Calabash thing is Kirk DeHere's class,
yeah, and I've done that one. So
because he makes you to learn how to use a bowl gouge.
Yeah.
And whatever the shape and whatever all the magic is to the history of the Calabash, you know, I guess history buffs really like all that stuff, but I like Kirk DeHere's method in the class where he makes you learn how to do it.
and I've
And you
done that
don't,
with him. So yeah.
and
Okay,
you don't
I'm
get,
not good at calabash.
you don't
I'll
get
go
to
for
use
that.
you don't get to use 10 different tools. You get to use a bowl gouge.
Yes.
I like Kurt, but I've also seen Emilio Archibald do it, and I like the way he does it as well.
Yeah.
Well,
And we still have access to that video, I believe, through our member portal. So, okay, I'm not
You
taking
know,
calabash. Thank you. And I'll think
Mm.
about volunteering.
Emiliano has made a career out of that presentation.
Yes. All right, let's move on to rotation 6. Dave Kohler, what'd you pick?
The making bees of courage bowl using segmenting.
You gotta move a little closer to the mic.
The Albianchi making bees of courage bowls.
Aha. Good choice.
Nice.
The only one that's segmented.
No, I think I'll go to that one with.
Anybody else have a nomination?
I think I'll go to Andy Wolf using a sampler. I haven't done a lot of surface enhancement, so I would like to learn more about it.
You know, for any of you that get a chance to see Janice Levi, she has what I would call poor man's wood turning. And please don't repeat that, but she shows ways of using what I would consider, you know, some people go to the store and they buy all the fancy inlay materials and so on. And Janice shows you how to make an insert around the top of your bowl or wherever, whatever, out of eggshells. And if that type of thing, she can do more with less than a lot of people. And it's interesting if any of you get a chance. And again, look at the vendor list and see if she's performing at the. I never did look that up, did I? I'll try again to find that.
Yeah, squirrel.
Her fancy lidded box with the finial is being recorded that time.
That's right. Yeah. I'll go to that one.
Go ahead, don't wait
Okay.
for me.
So
I'm curious to know if anybody knows anything about this Donna Zills Banfield. I've never heard of her before. What's she doing with her embellishing?
She sits at a table, and it's probably going to be similar to what you saw from Mary. Could be wood burning, could be painting, could be what does it say in her demonstration?
Finish your story with color is what she's,
yeah,
her title.
If you're into embellishing, she's good if you're into embellishing, and if those are things that you're interested in learning how to do. I've sat through one of her demonstrations and basically felt like I didn't need to sit through another. And that's been a couple, 3 years ago. She's well respected in the organization.
Susan, what'd you pick for rotation 7 to go see?
The Eiko Tanaka on Urushi lacquer history and wiping. And Ken is going to Janice Levi on embellishing.
That one's being recorded, Susan, just so you know.
I know, but am I good at watching all the ones that are recorded? I'd rather go see it in person.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point, Sue. You know, are you going to discipline yourself to watch these things that you're skipping over when you get back?
A good question.
What I've done in the past is I've just picked a day that said, I'm still at the symposium, and I've sat in the recliner and had beverages handy, and I've just watched and done my own rotation series for the day.
If we come over to your house, do you serve beverages?
I will, as long as you bring the food.
How long are they available? Do we know that? The recording?
They won't start, well, I'll speak from last year. They have a lot of work to do to get the videos ready for publishing. So it'll probably take a week, and then they should be available for a month.
Okay, thank you.
And if you're interested, if you're going first in person to Susan or to Janice, be sure to take notes and make questions that you want to talk to her about. And then as soon as this demonstration is over, get up to the front and talk to her. She's very helpful. If you've got a absolutely stupid question, she will figure out a perfect way to answer it.
Thank you.
And also, if you've got those stupid questions and you're going to carry them around with you for 2 or 3 days, if you see her anywhere, just stop and talk to her, because she's a human being and she's perfectly willing to do that.
Thanks.
Let me put in a plug for anybody who is interested in using lasers these days, and there's several members who have done that. Alan Zenrick is a very good guy to watch for that demonstration. Alan is actually very versatile, but he also set up the organization website called Lucid Woodturners. And that's where a lot of the professionals have gone for information on how to set up for doing Zoom hybrid meetings. That's where I got all of my information for what equipment we needed for the club. And after he had done the Lucid Woodturners, he moved into lasers, and he's looked at all sorts of high-end and mid-end lasers that might be of interest to some of our woodturners. So don't write him off. He might be a very good source of information.
He is the person that actually started the concept of remote demonstrations. He's worked with a couple of regular demonstrators that started doing the IRDs. They weren't IRDs then, they were just remote demos.
Does anybody know what this sliced hollow forms is, Dave? Dave Landers,
Where are you looking?
rotation
Yes,
7. Dave Landers, sliced hollow forms.
Oh, I have no idea what that is. He's a local guy somewhere on the West Coast, I think.
Rick, I followed one of Kathy's links for him and looked at his gallery, and he apparently will do something like a hollow form and then cut it open around the circumference and then put it back together with what are the bow tie ties like Emiliano uses, the Hawaiian ties that put it back together. I think that's what he's calling sliced hollow forms. So you create the hollow form first, then you cut it open, but not longitudinally, just across, and then you put it back together somehow.
Yeah.
Or
That's my best guess.
if he's doing a whole demonstration on it, he might be cutting it at an angle.
Yeah, if you look at the gallery on the link I gave, it does have a topic, sliced hollow forms. So you
I'll
can
have to
see,
take a look at that. That kind of piqued my interest. I didn't know quite what it was.
Well, what I saw in his gallery was a slice through a hollow form, sort of like a wave bowl slice.
Oh,
It was not
okay.
just straight across, it was curved. And I'm not quite sure how he got that curve, but it reminded me of John Beaver's wave bowls.
Okay.
He probably got that curve the same way John did. And John was the one that basically started that. So that's probably exactly what it is. And I think he's a West Coaster, because he's what we call the local or regional demonstrator.
he lives in Estes Park, Colorado.
Dave, do you get a chance to attend any of these things?
You mean beforehand?
No, during the symposium?
Last year I went to one.
You got one pick for rotation 8?
I do not.
Oh, yeah.
For any of the newcomers, I would say Kirk DeHeers is a good one just learning what causes catches. You know, that people that knock bowls off of lathes are because they don't understand catches.
I've taken several classes with Kirk, and that was my first choice that time, just as a review. So I'm going to.
Yeah,
take
he's
that.
good.
He is.
Yeah, we're going to that one too.
I have to get there early so I get a seat.
If that becomes a conflict, why don't we reverse that and bring Kirk back to Prescott?
Well, that is one of the options of topics that he would do. And it was one of the list of things that he could do maybe next year or something. So
I picked
Have
art.
the annual Kirk to her presentation, huh?
or
Absolutely.
biannual. Yeah.
And another thing you could do, if you charge for that, you could open it up to Phoenix people, and you'll probably get some Phoenix people coming up and paying the $25 or whatever.
He recently demonstrated for the Phoenix Club, and that was, I think, last fall.
We demonstrated
He's-
for
he's-
our club last year.
Yeah,
He's
he was
the-
also one of our IRDs last year.
He did the same
Physically in
thing for
Phoenix.
Phoenix. In Phoenix, he did in person and IRDs. And
He's a
when
good
we did,
instructor.
when I did the first IRD with him in Phoenix, there was, I will say, little interest. And then they watched him on video or after the fact, and all of a sudden everybody wanted to bring him to Phoenix in person. So he was in Phoenix for not only in person, but for hands-on. He taught a couple-day gathering, which I would really like to see the Prescott Club work out with the school and get these professional demonstrators in, and then keep them for a couple of days and let them do hands-on classes, much like you would do at Craft Supplies at the community college. And I think the club's really missing the boat by not doing that.
It's been a matter of cost, Dave.
Well, then you need a new financial secretary because you can make money doing that.
Well, I think it's been discussed. Actually, we didn't have access to the college previously. We
Right.
think that we do now, and Dean and I have been working on trying to come up with a combined event, and I think it'll happen yet. So we're on that track. There's, as we all know, there's a lot of other things coming into play that may help as well. So
I've been working on Dean on that, and you and Dean just need to figure out how to do it, because it should not be that big a deal. And the instructors, the demonstrators would prefer most of them would prefer spending 3 or 4 days in Arizona.
well, like I said, Dave, previously it's been location and the willingness on the part of the college, which that
Yeah.
attitude seems to have changed. And I think it's something that we're definitely working on. So hopefully that'll happen.
And I'm working
Keep in
on,
mind too that COVID sort of changed a lot of that. And we have pretty much come out of COVID now. So there is discussion about some IRDs, but not all IRDs. It's being discussed within the club. So hang in there, Dave. We'll figure something out.
you know, another option if the school doesn't come through. And I'd be happy, and I told Dean, I'd be happy to come over there and help twist the arms of the school, because they're issues that I have heard from Dean anyway, and I don't know if that's all, well, I'm sure it's not all of them, but there's gotta be ways around them. The last one I heard was they closed the school for the summer, so we can't do stuff in the summer. They don't want, the people on campus, cars on campus or whatever. But there's ways around that. And,
Yeah.
you know, another option, you guys have a lot of space with your meeting place. And your hands-on could very easily be, and especially with Dean and his trailer and his process, bring extra lathes into that area. Go over to Spencer's house when he's not looking and back the trailer up and load his Powermatic on and bring it over to the learning or to the meeting center.
The steps are
Or-
too steep.
Dave,
Well,
those are items that are being discussed, but I don't think this is the right venue for them.
I'm
Can we
sorry,
move
I'm
on?
sorry. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
On rotation 8, I took a look at Art Leesman. Flame texturing, is that anything other than just taking a blowtorch and bringing the grain out?
I was curious about that too, Bruce, and so that's one of my possible options, but I really don't know what he's planning on doing there. And that's again why I asked if there will be more description in the guide handout. I certainly hope so.
Could be, and Art, I'm sure will do that, give a good description. But I
What is
think you,
split turning? I'm sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
what is what?
Split turning. The bottom one, the orange one there. Spindles and
Oh,
finials.
Oh, it's where you turn a spindle and you cut it in half and then you make a decoration on the side of your furniture. Or
Rick,
Or a
I looked
picture
at her
frame.
gallery and it's very similar to doing an inside out turning
Okay.
where you cut the pieces first, you glue them together temporarily, turn it, and then you turn the pieces around. And in her case, I think she uses them for picture frames or some kind of a frame, but then you get the decorative part on the outside of the frame. That's my best understanding from her gallery.
That looked like it might be fun. Rotation 9. Bruce?
Kathy, you're muted.
Just went to Art Leesman's website and the link that I sent on, and he does have a section. If you go into his teaching and demos later, he does have a section on flame texturing, so it might explain that to you. But you have to go into his teaching and demos section.
Thanks. I was just looking in his gallery.
Yeah, no, go into that section and
Thanks a
that'll
lot.
help you.
so Dave,
There
are we
was-
getting lobster for the banquet this year?
Pardon me?
Are we getting lobsters for the banquet this year?
I have no idea. I know that there's gonna be seating for close to 600.
Will we get the banquet tickets when we register? I mean, when
You
we
will-
check in?
Yes.
If you paid for it, yes.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, basically what you'll see is the secret number on your badge that allows you to eat, drink, and be merry.
I'd rather be Fred.
Well, then you want to get there early and go through the hors d'oeuvres.
I like this. One on the-
Rotation 9. Is he
I like
kicking
the
it?
top one. Square bowl with a off-center decoration.
That's being recorded on.
No, I don't
Friday at
think that one
10:30.
is.
Look at Friday at 10:30.
Friday at 10:30.
Just so you.
Oh, it
I
is.
mean,
You're right.
You're welcome to
Thank you.
watch it, but
Thank you,
I
Kathy.
just
I
wanted you to
appreciate
know
that.
that.
What time do we have to leave on Sunday to get to the airport? I think our flight's at 4:25, is it not?
Yeah,
I don't remember, but I don't think we've got problems because you just walk outside the convention center, hop on the trolley, and it takes you right to the airport.
How long of a ride is that, Bruce?
I think it's like 20 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's not bad. So we should be able to stay through both rotation then, all
Yes.
the rotation.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
what do we do with any luggage at that time then?
Most hotels have a place that they will store your luggage after you've checked out, and you go pick it up when you want it and go.
And that's still close to the tram area, right? I
Yes.
think. Okay.
But a
just wanted-
half a block for
Yeah,
you.
okay.
If you go
Okay,
out the back door, if you go out the front door, it's a little longer.
okay. Thanks.
I also took a look at that upside down hollowing.
Does anybody have any idea what that means?
I think that means you go through the bottom, doesn't it?
Yep.
That's what I thought.
You basically just cut a hole in the, do your hollowing from the bottom and put the plug back in.
That's so you can hollow through a 2 or 2.5 inch hole instead of a 1/4 inch hole, and then you put a 1/4 inch hole in the top and make it look like he hollowed it through that.
Exactly.
Or a 1 inch hole.
There are a few tricks to doing that, and I've done a demo over at Phil Brown's house a couple of times about how to do that and some of the problems you run into. But that's why I thought I'd go see it, see what I'm doing wrong. I originally saw Dale Nish do it, a video of him doing it, and that's what got me into it.
I might go to that one with you, Barry.
So Rick, what'd you pick for the last rotation on rotation 10?
Well, I'm going to go with Dave Kohler to the bottom one there where the panel is how to be a better demonstrator. And the reason I want to go to that is so that we might be able to improve the demonstrations that we have at the club, that we might be able to use some of that knowledge to coach the demonstrators that are doing that so we can do and get better videos. That's what my thought was.
I was also interested in that one, for the same reason. And also the group of people that they put together for that should be quite informative.
Yeah.
Yes.
A good thing to do, Rick, is to have your demonstrator person put together just a checklist and requirements for your demonstrator and have them review it before they do a demonstration. Just a checklist.
Ken's been working on that to date and has done a great job in trying to consult people before they do a demo. But I think we might be able to learn a lot from this. So I think it'd be a good discussion.
No question. And Kathy brings up a good point that it's a good group that's doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you go, Kathy and Rick and whoever else you go, make sure you participate with them. Ask them questions, tell them you don't like their idea or whatever, and get discussion started.
The hard part is getting the demonstrator aside before a meeting because there's so much activity getting all the meetings set up in advance and trying to make sure all of that's working, that I've had the intention of talking through a lot of it with the demonstrators. I've got handouts, I've got a checklist. Somehow I never quite get around to it. So maybe we need to have somebody else dedicated to approaching the demonstrator specifically on some of those techniques. I'd like to have a demo for demonstrators in advance, but we don't really know who is going to be the demonstrator long enough in advance to have that kind of a session. So hopefully we will learn some things from this, and it would be great if we could just have a checklist. I have some checklist we can use. I just haven't had enough time to implement it.
I think
When
We might
you
be
were-
able, we might be able to make it a Tuesday demo type of thing, Ken, for
Yeah,
people within the club. And then develop a checklist going from there that we can have available for outside demonstrators.
I agree
Yeah,
with you, Rick.
that's
I
a good
thought of doing that
suggestion.
for a Tuesday sometime, and I think it needs to be supplied to a demonstrator well before the day of the event, not right
I like-
before.
I like that idea. Yeah,
I
that's much
fully agree
better.
with that, Kathy. Yes,
Yeah.
that's almost essential.
A
Yeah,
question,
Because there's such simple little things we've been working on with Jerry and Steve, or some of the camera stuff. But the demonstrator has to be aware that if you go off camera without any kind of advance notice, a cameraman can't follow you. And so they're just simple little things that can be done by the demonstrator. Mary Schick was a very good example. For example, every time she turned to the, what do you call the paper sheets behind her to do some sketches, she said, I'm going to go draw you a sketch. So that gives everybody, the audience included, and the cameraman, some advance notice what's happening next. Whereas we've had some other demonstrators who simply go off screen to grab something on a table to the side. You have no idea why he or she disappeared. And so there are little things like that that we can get the demonstrators to become aware of, but just before the demo is not the right time.
I think
No.
Mary also was so good because she was sedentary. She wasn't moving around from spot to spot, which made the camera work a lot more focused and concentrated, which came out very well.
a question for you, Ken and Rick. Based on your comment a little while ago about your demonstrators not known far enough in advance. Has Marge requested that from you, a schedule for the year for the demonstrators?
We have that
Small.
schedule.
Yeah.
So Part of it, one of the reasons I want to go to the panel also, having demonstrated before and maybe again in the future, is I want to know how they look at organization, because the organization of the demonstration is equally important, not just what the camera will be doing, but we have a lot of people who have skills, but they don't necessarily organize their demonstration in a way that it's well done, I guess. I hate
So
to say it that way, but.
So just schedule one of your Tuesday meetings
Mhm.
for the early in the year for all the demonstrators that are gonna be on this, or they're on the schedule for the whole year, and just bring them together and go over that.
It would be nice.
Well,
That
that
easy.
schedule depends on when the program director gets things and people scheduled. So
Well, that's
we're
why
dependent
I
on
asked.
that too.
That's why I asked. Marge requested that when I was the program director. She twisted my arm and held a baseball bat over my head and requested this schedule. And there's no reason why you can't do it. I mean, there'll be changes, but there's no reason why you can't put it together.
Right.
Well, we've always requested it every year. We don't always get it.
Okay, let's move on. Anything else about rotation 10? That brings us to the end of lunch on Sunday. Any other comments?
Run for the train.
I would suggest that if you're buying something from the vendors, you do not postpone it until noon on Sunday. Those people are just as anxious to get home as you are.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
that
something like
makes
when
sense.
we went to Oregon last year, some stuff sells out.
That's true,
Mhm.
that also.
Are the vendors open on Thursday also?
Of course, I
Yeah.
was looking at that, Kathy. They're
Should open
open,
at
trade
6
show opens at
o'clock.
6.
6 o'clock on Thursday.
Okay,
You guys can get in and get situated, and well, you're coming in on Wednesday, right?
Right.
yes.
Yeah, you guys are coming Wednesday.
Thursday morning, Rick, I think I've told you this. I think I told Dean Humphreys this. Dean has volunteered for a session with the kids. I'm not sure when. Come to the volunteer desk when you get up, when you get there on Thursday morning, and get your volunteer badge and get your volunteer t-shirt. And then you can accidentally stroll through the vendor area because you've got your vendor t-shirt on. It's not open. You can't buy anything. You should not stop and ask questions and talk to them, but at least you can see who's there, what's there. You get an idea.
Speaking about Sunday, I noticed at Portland, I kind of had an expectation where the vendors might be interested in making deals on Sunday. I didn't find that to be the case. So it doesn't make a
If
lot
they
of
are,
waiting.
if they are not going to publicize that, or they wouldn't sell anything all week. I know a lady that bought a Powermatic lathe for a steal price. In other words, she was a theft and she stole it. Some of the vendors give you good deals all week long, and you negotiate. I mean, that's up to the vendor and that's up to you. We basically, AAW is pretty much separated from how the vendors do their business. We don't tell them how to do it. We don't ask them how they're going to do it. That's strictly up to them. And yes, most of them have discounts. And yes, many of them have basically, and the wood vendors are the ones you want to look at. They're the ones that wholesale out stuff at the last minute because they don't want to carry it home.
Dave, are you doing the first time attendee orientation on Thursday at 4:30?
Rick, I couldn't hear all that.
Oh, there's at 4:30 on Thursday. There is a first time attendee orientation. Now you've done that for us. Would it be worthwhile for us to do that again?
What's the competition? What else can you do?
Nothing.
People that are volunteering to do youth turning. There should be a youth turning mentoring session at a similar time, not necessarily the same time. And you see that mentoring just above that.
That would be at 7 o'clock, Dave. I have a question on the other sessions, special interest sessions. I understand women in turning, they would get together for the WIT group. Segmented turners, is that a special interest group that always meets separately? And tell me, what's gizmos and gadgets?
Okay, all of those special interest things, they are AAW request suggestions for those well in advance. Like you could probably make a suggestion for next year right now on a special interest group. And then give me an example of something that you would like to see that's not there.
Oh, I'm interested in finding out what is gizmos and gadgets.
Okay, that's a person that has compiled things that Rick can attest to this. He spent an hour in my shop and he found this very informative, interesting, well-engineered gizmo or gadget in my shop that I'm sure he's still thinking about. Probably the only thing he learned all day. But he took something home and I'm sure he's going to demonstrate it. And I'm sure it's going to be at the top of his list in his shop. It's a piece of wood like a dowel, probably 4 inches long, with a piece of Velcro on the end of it. And that's how I pick up my discs for the sanding disc. And I showed him some pretty cool stuff, but he thought that was the one thing that he probably took out of my, I mean, he didn't steal it, but I mean, that's the one thing that he took out of my shop of his interest. And that's the gizmos and gadgets. It's just shortcuts, things you've learned. They might even have some of my scissors there.
Well, Dave, do you have to be a member of these specific organizational interest groups to attend these, or are these open to anybody?
Oh, they're open. No, all the special, which one do you look, where are gizmos and gadgets? Where's it at on the?
Well, that's all on
Thursday.
Thursday evening, the special interest session, 7 to 8 p.m.
I guess I've looked at this for too long, too much.
All
Room
right.
Look at the column directly under
E146.
Thursday.
And where are they meeting?
Doesn't say.
No,
Yes, it says
E144.
E144, E146,
Oh, yeah, right.
Okay. So you would just go to that room. The room probably holds, I'm not familiar with 146, but it probably holds, I don't know, 150 people. And there'll probably be somewhere between 20 and maybe 100 people attending that. It's just like another rotation, except it's just a PS session, and the person that's in charge of it, emceeing it, whatever you want to call it. These are things that, again, for next year, if you wanted some kind of a special session, you would recommend it for Minneapolis, St. Paul. You would recommend that they have a special interest session on whatever, how to sand. And then they would get somebody that's good at sanding to formalize it, put it together, and invite a bunch of people. And it just becomes a somewhat unorganized, just discussion session. Gizmos and Gadgets has been good. I popped in on a couple of them just for a few minutes. And if you can go to a session and come away without taking something home with you, taking some idea home with you, either you've been at it too long or you don't understand wood turning, I guess. Just anytime you see, ask Rick, I mean, his little Velcro ended piece of wood to pick up sanding disc, he was enthralled with that.
Doesn't take much, Dave.
And I even showed you some really cool stuff
Yeah.
that you just said, okay.
Yeah, it was a fun day.
And if you had a couple of those things, I'm sure you'd probably wear them out and you'd be back to my shop for another one.
Okay, anything else from anyone this morning?
Good
Thank you.
conversation, people. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all for
It's
joining.
helpful.
If you see Rick's yellow t-shirt and think you should have one, come to the volunteer desk and volunteer for something.
Only
Rick,
doing it for the
You
damn
like
shirt.
yellow? Rick, do you like yellow better than green?
Well, I like it a lot better than that Portland color they had last year. That was awful. Did I give that away yet? If anybody wants a shirt from Portland and I still have it, you can have it.
Don't confuse that. That's not Portland.
Okay, Albany.
Albany. Thank you.
Yep.
All right.
Doesn't matter what city, it was still stone ugly.
Dave, tell me, for volunteering, could we volunteer for a specific rotation time slot?
Yes and no. You have to go to the volunteer section. And it's been posted since January 1st, I think. You just go into anywhere on the AAW website, on the AAW symposium website, or off of this email that Rick's gonna send out. And if he doesn't, contact me, I will send it out. Get the just click on volunteer. Any place that you see volunteer, look at it and it will say, sign in or register or apply, whatever the word is. Anyway, it gives you a button to click on. As soon as you click on that, it takes you off of AAW and takes you to Sign Up Genius. There on Sign Up Genius, you can choose from about, I don't know, 20 different places. And if you, let's say merchandise sales, let's say you want to sell smocks and t-shirts and magazines and whatever. You click on merchandise sales. It would open up another window, and in there it will give you a description of your duties as a volunteer. You stand behind a table. It doesn't say that, and I'm telling you what you would do, but it explains that you just stand and talk people into buying things or help them. Spence will walk up and say, I want a smock, and you say what color, or you say, do you want an AAW or do you want a symposium one? And he'll pick whatever, and you say what size, and he goes, well, I don't know. I either need an XL or a quadruple extra large, depending on whether I'm wearing it as a dress or as a smock.
So Dave, are you
you
saying you can sign up for a specific activity and a specific time slot? You don't have to commit
Exactly.
to all day on Friday, for
No,
example.
no. You pick the thing, and once you go to merchandise sales, it will show you that this time slot needs 6 people and there's only 5 signed up. So that means there's an opening. It may show times on Friday afternoon that are completely full. There's no place to sign up. It may show that they're completely empty. There's nobody signed up. So you just pick something that looks interesting, and it'll say you'll be a salesperson at the merchandise table, and they don't take money, and should probably say that you just help the customers get the right size smock or whatever, and then you hand it over to the person that's taking the money, and you sign up for, maybe it's an hour and a half, maybe it's 2 hours, and they're all different, because some of them we want to only run during a break. Some things we want to run partially in the break, partially during a demonstration, and partially into the next break. So the time slots are all different. You just have to look at it, and you find a time that you want to donate some effort. And that's why I was asking you early on, and you can put this in your back pocket for another year if you intend to go. If you go, there are several advantages to going a day early, and Rick's going to see that. He'll see what happens on setup day. So he'll be able to reflect that back for future.
There's a lot of different things that you can sign up for: special exhibits, moving crew for demonstration tables, merchandise booth, local shipping, lathe raffle, grinder. There's a bunch of stuff on there, topics. You click on those and it'll tell you whether there's availability or there's not, and also what time slots are available. And you can just click into those and sign up for them. So there's lots up there that you can do.
When you first look at the volunteer, after you go to the website and look at where it says volunteer, it'll say, how do I sign in? Click on that and it explains it. But
I'm looking at the email, and the one that from Jay Brown does have a link to volunteering at the symposium. So that would be the link we all follow.
There's probably 10 different places where you can get to that link.
Yeah, if you just go to the AAW Woods and then click on the symposium, there's a whole page that says volunteer. You go down to sign up and click on that, and that will take you through right over to the page in sign up, whatever the heck it is.
Sign Up Genius.
Sign Up Genius, and then all of the different things that you can volunteer for are listed there. Some are
Yeah,
still
I just
open,
followed that,
some
and
are
there's
not.
17 results right now for 17 different opportunities to sign up, depending on, well, these are 17 categories.
Yeah.
So
Correct,
just
correct.
takes a little bit more research to figure out what time and activity would be of interest.
I would suggest the youth turning,
Okay.
because you can take something home from that. You can learn something and take something home from that. Merchandise sales, you're probably not gonna take much home. You're gonna stand there and sell t-shirts. So you're not really learning much. Instant gallery, it allows you're basically, depending on the time that you sign up for, if you're in a real slow period, you're in the instant gallery, maybe all by yourself, maybe with 2 or 3 other people, and you're basically just policemen. And you just kind of walk around, and when Rick comes in, you watch him real closely, because he can't follow directions, and the directions clearly say, do not pick up artwork. And he picks up the artwork, you walk over and politely tell him that he's not supposed to touch anything. So, you can't have an answer that fits the whole time period for instant gallery, because it changes. But basically, what I explained to Kohler earlier, you're on the opposite end. You're helping him sign in. You're helping him find a place to set down his artwork, and you're making sure that he keeps his packing, his foam or whatever he used to pack with, and his cardboard box, and you put it under the table with his name on it, and you're just helping him get situated, and that's your volunteer job. Youth
Yes.
turning is good. Instant gallery would be good.
There's still lots of positions open for youth turning. On all days, Saturday morning's kind of filled up, but the other days are pretty wide open.
And there's a good chance there to rub elbows with professionals, with several different professional people. So besides you learning something, you have to attend a mentoring session, but it gives you a chance to work with some of the up and comings, Kaylee Bosch, for instance. And I'm sure her dad will be there, and I'm sure her mother will be there. And I'm sure her boyfriend will be there, or maybe they're married now, who is Nick Lowe, the professional demonstrator. So that's a good opportunity and a good place to for you to bring something home, as opposed to just helping AAW. And for some reason, that's one of the tough things we just don't get people to volunteer for. I guess they're intimidated or something, I'm not sure. But you just need basic turning knowledge, and you're going to stand between a couple of kids and make sure they follow the instructor's instructions. Make sure they get their face mask on, make sure they're holding their tools correctly, and that type of thing.
Okay, anything else of relevance we ought to talk about? We're dwindling down rapidly. There's not many of us left.
Bored them to death. I'm done.
Okay,